Hi, welcome to the 15th episode of the Student Recap Podcast, Mental Mindfulness. Today I will have Dr. Estrada joining me, and let's get started. So I'm just going to ask him, who are you?
Well, my name is Diego Estrada, and I am an upper school counselor and director of wellness at the John Cooper School.
And so you are part of the Ruler program. And what is the Ruler Emotional Scale?
Well, Ruler is an approach to emotional intelligence that was developed at the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. And Ruler is actually an acronym for the 5 skills of emotional intelligence. The first R means recognizing emotions in yourself and in others. The U means understanding the causes and the consequences of emotions. The L is for labeling. Do you have a vocabulary to talk about feelings? The E is expression. Do you reflect on how you express emotions? What makes sense in terms of expressing emotions based on the situation and the context? And the last R is regulating. Do we have strategies to manage our emotions? If we want to feel a certain way, do we know what to do? If we want to change the way we feel, do we have strategies to do that? So that is basically the idea of Ruler as an acronym and as an approach to emotional intelligence. And the Ruler approach tries to develop a collective mindset around emotions. They call it the emotions matter mindset. The idea is that we realize that emotions influence pretty much anything that we do. Emotions influence attention, memory, and learning. Emotions influence the way we make decisions. Emotions influence our relationships, even our health. So once we realize that emotions are an integral part of our lives and that are influencing every aspect of it, then it makes sense to invest in developing skills to be more effective at managing them.
Yeah, for sure, because every day you go to school I go to school and my emotions are going to affect my relationships, how I progress in my classes, just because emotions are so rounded in our personalities.
Yes, they are going to definitely have a huge impact. Think about it. When you're in class, do you learn the same if you're feeling bored or if you're feeling engaged, right? The way you feel, if you're exhausted, if you're bored, if you have high anxiety, how do you function, right? During an assessment, if your anxiety is too high. So the emotions are influencing pretty much everything that we do. So it really makes sense to learn more about them and how to manage them.
Yeah, and it's not just I'm feeling angry. You have to label that with the vocabulary, as you said, to pinpoint that feeling. And there's different strategies for every feeling, but it's not just different categories: happy, sad, angry, mellow. There's more depth to it.
There's much more, and actually having the right label really helps with choosing the right strategy, because it's important to reflect: am I feeling angry or frustrated? What is the difference between anger and frustration? And when we have that vocabulary, and then we're like, oh no, I'm feeling angry instead of frustrated, then I apply a different strategy to deal with that.
So this is going to be kind of broad, but so what are the most important factors for improving mental health?
Yeah, if we're talking about school or an individual level.
So let's say in a community, what can you do to positively affect the people around you to support their mental health?
Schools, you're talking about what an individual can do, or what we can do as a community to improve
as a community.
Mm-hmm. As a community, I think that one of the most important things is to to raise awareness about the importance of mental health, what mental health is and what mental health is not, and to realize that mental health is an integral aspect of our overall health. So we all need to take care of our mental health, and that requires that we understand the interconnection between mental and physical health. If we want to take care of our mental health, we have to start with very basic things, such as we need to be physically active.
Mm-hmm.
We need to eat proper
Healthy.
nutrition.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We need to rest enough, and we need to sleep enough. So those are very basic things that have a huge impact on our mental health. And then we can just develop specific strategies to work on our mental and emotional well-being. But really, at the very basic level, it really requires to see the interconnection of all the aspects of our lives, and how taking care of ourselves physically, starting with the physical aspect, is going to have an impact on our mental health.
Yeah, segueing from that, you actually run the club Active Minds, which is about like spreading awareness about people's mental health, and just getting the student body to be able to participate and learn more about mental health. Yes,
Active Minds. It's an important organization at the school, because mental health, as we've been saying, it's a very important aspect of our lives. So we have a dedicated group of student leaders who try to raise awareness about the importance of mental health, and then they try to teach very practical skills, like, for example, the VAR communication skill. How do you respond when a friend or somebody you know is telling you about a painful emotion or a painful
Yes.
experience? Mm-hmm. What do you say? Most people don't know what to say, so they either avoid the situation or they just try to fix it. But VAR teaches you that we can always validate the experience of the other person, like show that you understand. We're gonna appreciate that the person is sharing with us, and the R of VAR is refer. We always have to think, okay, what does this person need? Do they need to just vent, or this is something more serious? Do they actually need to see a counselor? Do I need to talk to someone about this person because I realize that they are really struggling? So that is the R of VAR. And our Active Mind student leaders, for example, they just went to advisories to teach about this strategy.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. So, do teenagers have it harder in terms of mental struggles compared to other age groups, do you think?
Well, what we've seen since the 90s is that mental health has worsened for teenagers. So they say that since the introduction of the iPhone,
technology and all that.
The technology, of course, there's a lot of debate about
yes.
Is technology
good and
really,
bad.
Actually affecting mental health, or it just happens to be, but it just happened at the same time that the increase in the access to technology
yes.
Also came with an increase in mental health challenges in young people. So I think that because of technology and because of the access to social media and all kinds of content online, being a teenager now is very different than it was years ago, and that has had an impact. So I think it's more important than ever for teenagers to pay attention to mental health and to be active and to develop skills to be able to do something about it.
I would definitely agree, because cyberbullying, social media trends, and just other things online can really affect how we feel. They make us almost feel small, because social media is just an echo chamber. And when you see all those ideas or things going around, and you might be like, I'm not like them, I'm not like special. And there's other things like cyberbullying that people online are going to try to make you feel worse. Technology has definitely opened some opportunities for the mental health of teenagers to go downwards.
Yeah, I mean, think about, like, we have very primitive tendencies. Like, for example, we all want to be accepted by a group, because our survival in the old times, right, really depended on being accepted by a group. So that meant that we compare ourselves to others. We are constantly comparing ourselves to others. So think about now having access to comparing yourself to millions and millions of people. Like, the content online is like endless, in which you can be just very unhappy by seeing other people and seeing how they have experiences you don't have things that you don't have. They seem to be much happier than you are, all kinds of things. So that has an impact on people.
And I also think with texting, like, for teenagers, that's quintessential. Like, you can't live without it. And then texting, sometimes people, they talk on there as if they're not really the same person. And texting can lead to, like, confrontations, anger between people, and emotions that wouldn't be there if you, like, got the context of the person talking to you in person.
Exactly, Rafael, and think about this, because this is amazing that many times I have students talking to me about conflict that they're dealing with another person, and they actually never talked to that person face to face.
Yeah, every situation.
It's everything is by text, and it's just fascinating. It's kind of like having two different lives, right? Like the face to face life and then the online life.
So, as you said earlier, there's like different factors such as like eating healthy, having like good exercise, having good rest. Are there any other like important factors for like us ourselves to improve our mental health?
Yes. Again, the physical aspect, nutrition, physical activity, and rest and sleep, the three main aspects. And then you have also the aspect of reflecting on what's motivating you. What is your purpose? What makes you feel fulfilled? You know, so that, you know, there are two ways of going through life. One is going on autopilot.
Yeah.
You're constantly just simply reacting. Going on autopilot means like you're constantly on your phone and you're constantly just like consuming everything that they put in front of you.
Yes.
Another way of going through life is you disconnect the autopilot and then you pause and you think like, wait a second, what is really going to make me feel fulfilled?
Yes.
What is going to bring me a true sense of well-being? And then when you get in touch with that, then whatever you do is going to be much more effective and is going to produce, you know, much better outcomes in terms of mental health. So autopilot or a life of getting in touch with your true purpose.
It's like, is going to the park and playing with your friends gonna be better for you than scrolling on TikTok? Even though you're still getting that dopamine, going outside, going to the park is gonna be much better for you.
Yes, and you're gonna have that personal connection, and you're gonna have the exercise. So you know, but many times it really requires to be able to kind of like pause and really get in touch with what's important to you, and then let that really guide your actions.
It's necessary for us to like not just be so focused on one thing that we forget about the other aspects of our life. We can't be on the autopilot forever just so we think we turn out well. We have to be actively persevering to make ourselves better.
Absolutely. And this is one of the things, you know, I admire about you, that you know you're creating a podcast.
Yeah.
That you told me you've been listening to podcasts since, you know, the middle school, and that now you're creating your own content.
Yes.
So that sounds to me like a good example of what we're talking about.
I think this is a good place to close. I really enjoyed this interview with you, Dr. Estrada, and thank you for coming on to Student Recap Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I will see you guys next week.